The McKinsey Way by Ethan M. Rasiel. Picture this. You're standing in the boardroom of a Fortune 500 company. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Profits are tanking. Some upstart competitor is eating their lunch, and nobody has a clue what to do next. The executives, people who've been running this company for decades, are completely stumped. Then the door swings open. In walks a small team of consultants. They look young, maybe late 20s. They don't have decades of experience in this industry. Honestly, some of them might have been working in a completely different field just last month. Yet every eye in the room turns to them, waiting for answers. Welcome to the world of McKinsey Company, arguably the most prestigious strategic consulting firm on the planet. For nearly a century, they've been the secret weapon for the world's most powerful corporations and governments. They're the people you call when problems are too big, too complex, or too politically explosive for anyone else to handle. Their alumni? It's a who's who of the business elite. Former McKinsey consultants go on to run companies like American Express, write classics like In Search of Excellence, and advise world leaders. So what's their secret? How does a 27-year-old with a fresh MBA walk into a company and tell a 60-year-old CEO how to run his business and actually be right? It's not magic. It's a method, a way of thinking, working, and communicating that's been refined over decades. They call it simply the McKinsey Way. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on that method. In his book, The McKinsey Way, former McKinsey associate Ethan M. Rasiel gives us a rare peek behind the scenes of this legendary firm. He breaks down the core principles that anyone can use, whether you're a student, an entrepreneur, or just someone who wants to think more clearly to solve problems more effectively. I promise you, by the end of our time together, you won't just have a list of business tips. You'll have a whole new framework for thinking. A structured, fact-based approach that can cut through complexity and get to the heart of any challenge. We're going to learn how to build solutions from scratch, communicate them with crystal clarity, and even thrive in high-pressure situations. This isn't just about business. It's about upgrading how your mind works. Let's dive in. The mindset, building the foundation of a solution. The entire McKinsey method rests on 3 deceptively simple pillars. When a McKinsey team first tackles a client's problem, they know their solution must be 3 things: fact-based, rigidly structured, and hypothesis-driven. Let's start with the first, fact-based. In a world drowning in opinions, gut feelings, and office politics, facts are the great equalizer. They're solid ground when everything else is shifting sand. McKinsey consultants don't walk into a room saying, "I have a hunch," or "my gut tells me." A 27-year-old's gut instinct doesn't carry much weight with a CEO who's been running a company for 30 years. But facts are different. An overwhelming mountain of facts can bridge any credibility gap. This is why, on day 1 of a project, the team doesn't start by guessing. They start gathering facts. They comb through stacks of reports, articles, and research documents. They build a foundation of knowledge. As one former consultant put it, when you strip away all the fancy language, the McKinsey process comes down to high-quality analysis, combined with an aggressive attitude toward fact-gathering. Many people, especially in large organizations, are terrified of facts. They're afraid of what they might find. Maybe the facts will show a pet project is failing, or that a long-held belief is wrong. Maybe they think if they don't look, the nasty facts will just disappear. Spoiler alert, they never do. Hiding from facts is a recipe for failure. The McKinsey way is to hunt for them, use them, but never, ever fear them. Facts are friendly. They're the bricks you use to build your solution. Now, once you have your facts, what do you do with them? This brings us to the second pillar, rigidly structured. Having a pile of facts is useless if you can't organize them. It's like having all the puzzle pieces scattered on a table with no picture to guide you. Structure is that picture on the box. It's the framework that lets you see the whole picture. At McKinsey, the gold standard for structure has a quirky name, MECE. It's pronounced MECE, and it stands for mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. This concept gets pounded into every new associate's head from day one. Every document, every presentation, every email should be MECE. So what does it mean? Let's break it down with laundry. Yes, laundry. Mutually exclusive means each item of clothing goes into one, and only one, pile. Socks go in the sock pile, shirts go in the shirt pile. You don't have a shirt that's also a sock. Each category is separate and distinct, no overlap. Collectively exhaustive means when you're done, there are no clothes left on the floor. Every single item has a place in one of your piles. You've thought of everything. When you apply this to a business problem, it brings incredible clarity. Let's say a company, we'll call them Acme Widgets, wants to sell more widgets. A McKinsey team might break the problem down like this. 1. We can change how we sell our widgets to stores. 2. We can improve how we market our widgets to consumers. 3. We can reduce the cost of our widgets so we can lower the price. Is this list MECE? Let's check. Are the items mutually exclusive? Yes. Selling to stores is different from marketing to consumers, and both are different from production costs. No overlap. Are they collectively exhaustive? This is trickier. Have we thought of everything? Pretty much yes. Any idea to sell more widgets, from changing packaging to redesigning the sales commission structure, will likely fall into one of these three buckets. If you thought of another idea, say re-engineering our production process, where would that go? It falls under reducing the cost of our widgets. It's a subpoint, not a fourth main point. Putting it on the top-level list would create overlap and muddle your thinking. This MECE framework forces you to be logical and complete. It prevents you from chasing random ideas and ensures you're looking at the problem from all necessary angles. It's the secret to clear, organized thought. So we have our facts, and we have a structure to organize them. This brings us to the third, and perhaps most powerful pillar, hypothesis-driven. This idea seems backwards at first. The essence of being hypothesis-driven is to figure out the solution to the problem before you start. Think about it like this. If you need to drive to a restaurant in a part of town you've never visited, you don't just get in your car and start driving around randomly, hoping you'll stumble upon it. That would be a colossal waste of time and gas. Instead, you get a map. You figure out a route. You might say, okay, I'll take the main highway to Smith Street, make a left, go 3 blocks, and it should be on the right. That's your initial hypothesis. It's a rough roadmap to get you from the problem to the solution. It might be wrong. Maybe Smith Street is closed for construction, or you wrote down the directions incorrectly. But even if it's wrong, by trying to follow it, you'll quickly learn what the right path is. A wrong turn is still information. Solving a complex business problem works the same way. Before you spend months gathering and analyzing every piece of data, what McKinsey calls boiling the ocean, you develop an initial hypothesis. For our friends at Acme Widgets, the initial hypothesis might be, we can increase widget sales by reorganizing our sales force by customer type, launching a new advertising campaign focused on quality, and reducing production costs by 10% through better inventory management. This isn't just a random guess. It's an educated guess based on the initial facts you've gathered in your structured thinking. Now the entire project has focus. You're no longer just looking into the problem. You're on a mission to prove or disprove a specific theory. Every piece of research, every interview, every analysis is designed to test part of that hypothesis. If the facts support the hypothesis, great. You've found your solution. If the facts refute it, that's also great. You've learned something crucial and can now form a new, better hypothesis. This process saves an incredible amount of time and effort. It turns vague exploration into focused investigation. This is the holy trinity of McKinsey problem solving, a foundation of facts, a rigid MECE structure to organize them, and an initial hypothesis to guide your journey to the solution. It's a mindset that transforms chaos into clarity. The toolkit, rules and actions for solving problems. Having the right mindset is the starting point, but the real work happens when you apply that mindset to the messy reality of the world. Over the years, McKinsey has developed a powerful toolkit of rules and techniques to guide consultants through the problem-solving process. These aren't complex theories. They're practical rules to live by. One of the most famous is the 80/20 rule. This rule is one of the great truths of business and of life. It states that in many situations, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. Once you start looking, you'll see it everywhere. 80% of a company's sales come from 20% of its customers. 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort. 80% of your stress comes from 20% of your problems. In his first project at McKinsey, Rasiel saw this rule in action at a large brokerage firm. The firm wanted to improve profitability. The McKinsey team analyzed every single account for every broker. What did they find? You guessed it. 80% of sales came from 20% of brokers. 80% of profits came from 20% of traders. This simple insight was like a laser beam. It immediately focused their attention. The problem wasn't that most of the sales staff were lazy. It was that the company's best resources weren't being allocated effectively. The top 3 brokers were handling the 10 biggest accounts. By restructuring how those accounts were managed, by sharing the load a bit, they didn't just divide the pie more fairly, they actually made the whole pie bigger. The 80/20 rule gave them the starting point to solve the client's problem. So how do you use this? Look at your own work, or your own life. What are the 20% of activities generating 80% of your positive results? Do more of those. What are the 20% of tasks or worries causing 80% of your problems? Find ways to eliminate or reduce those. It's a simple but profound tool for focusing your energy where it matters most. Related to the 80/20 rule is another McKinsey mantra: don't boil the ocean. Imagine trying to get salt by boiling the entire ocean. You'd expend an unimaginable amount of energy for a tiny return. This is what happens when you try to analyze everything. There's an infinite amount of data out there, an infinite number of analyses you could perform. If you try to do it all, you'll drown. The McKinsey way is to do just enough analysis to prove or disprove your hypothesis, no more. This is the flip side of being fact-based. It requires judgment to know when you have enough information to make a decision, and then the discipline to stop. It means working smarter, not harder. To avoid boiling the ocean, you need to find the key drivers. In any system, there may be 100 factors that affect the outcome, but usually only a few of them, the key drivers, are really pulling the levers. For example, 100 things can affect a company's profits, but the key drivers might be just 3: the number of customers, the average purchase size, and the production cost per item. If you can move the needle on those 3 things, you'll have a much bigger impact than tinkering with 100 minor factors. Finding the key drivers is about drilling down to the core of the problem. It allows you to apply your energy and analysis where it'll do the most good. Once you've found the solution by focusing on key drivers, you need to communicate it. This leads to a classic McKinsey challenge, the elevator test. Imagine this. You and your team have been working for months on a huge project. You've done all the research, built the models, and crafted a beautiful presentation. You're all in your best suits, ready to present to the CEO. Just as the meeting's about to start, the CEO strides in and says, "Sorry everyone, I have a crisis. I have to go." Then he turns to you and says, "Ride down in the elevator with me and tell me what you found." You have 30 seconds. Can you explain your solution clearly, concisely, and persuasively in the time it takes to ride down the elevator? Can you sell it? That's the elevator test. If you can't, it means you don't understand your own solution well enough. Boiling down months of work into a 30-second pitch forces you to focus on the absolute essence of your message. What's the single most important recommendation, and what's the biggest benefit? If you can nail that, you've mastered your subject. Now, while you're working on these big long-term solutions, it's important to pluck the low-hanging fruit. Sometimes in the middle of a project, you'll find an opportunity for a quick, easy win. A simple change that can make an immediate improvement, even before the overall problem has been solved. The McKinsey rule is to seize those opportunities. These little victories are powerful. They build momentum, they boost your team's morale, and they show your client or your boss that you mean business and are already adding value. It reduces pressure and builds credibility, making it easier to sell your bigger, long-term solution down the road. To find these opportunities, it helps to practice another simple habit: make a chart every day. This might sound obsessive, but there's powerful logic to it. In the course of a single day, you can be flooded with information, from interviews, reports, team meetings. It's easy for important insights to get lost in the noise. The discipline of sitting down at the end of the day and asking, "What's the most important thing I learned today?" and then putting it on paper, even as a simple chart or a few bullet points, forces you to crystallize your thinking. It creates a record of your learning journey. Weeks later, when you're building your final presentation, you'll have a trail of these daily insights to draw from. It ensures nothing important slips through the cracks. While all these techniques are about being smart and efficient, there's another side to the McKinsey Way: the human side of working in a team. The firm teaches its consultants to hit singles. McKinsey recruits people who've spent their entire lives knocking it out of the park. Top grades, top schools, records of achievement. Their instinct is to try to be the hero, to solve the entire problem themselves. But in the complex world of business, that's a recipe for burnout and failure. The message is simple: you're part of a team. Your job isn't to do everything. Your job is to do your job, and do it well. It's far better to consistently get on base with a solid single than to try to hit a home run every time and strike out 9 times out of 10. Trust your teammates. Do your part. The team will be stronger for it. Finally, there's crucial advice for when you feel lost in the details. Look at the big picture. When you're deep in the weeds, analyzing spreadsheet after spreadsheet, it's easy to lose sight of why you're doing it. The McKinsey discipline is to periodically take a mental step back. Ask yourself, how does what I'm doing right now connect to our initial hypothesis? How does this analysis move us closer to a solution? Is this the most important thing I could be doing right now? If the answer is no, then stop, refocus. It's a simple reality check that can save you from wasting hours or even days chasing unimportant details. And perhaps the most human advice of all? Just say, "I don't know." The firm pounds the concept of professional integrity into its associates. A huge part of that is honesty, with your clients, your team, and yourself. Honesty includes recognizing when you don't have a clue. Trying to bluff your way through a topic you don't understand is a cardinal sin. It wastes time and destroys credibility. It's always, always better to admit what you don't know. It's a sign of confidence, not weakness. But there's a flip side to this. While you should be honest about what you don't know, you should never accept "I have no idea" from others or from yourself. When someone tells you, "I have no idea," it's often code for "I'm too busy to think about this," or "I'm afraid of being wrong." The McKinsey Way is to treat it as a challenge. Probe gently. Ask a few pointed questions. Chip away at the "I have no idea" with curiosity. You'll be amazed at what people actually know when you give them a chance to think. A few educated guesses, combined with some known facts, can often get you well on the way to a solution. This toolkit, these simple rules and actions, is what transforms the McKinsey mindset into a practical, repeatable process for solving even the most difficult problems. The art of persuasion, selling your solution. Finding the right answer is one thing. Getting an entire organization to accept it and act on it is another thing entirely. This is where the art of persuasion comes in, and at McKinsey, it's treated with the same rigor and structure as the problem-solving itself. The primary vehicle for selling a solution is the presentation. A McKinsey presentation is a masterclass in structured communication. If your thinking is muddled and sloppy, your presentation will be too, and your audience will assume your solution is just as weak. The MECE structure that guided your problem-solving must also guide your presentation. Every point should follow logically from the one before it, taking the audience on a clear, easy-to-follow journey down the path of your logic. But there's a secret to a successful McKinsey presentation that has nothing to do with what happens in the boardroom. It's a technique called pre-wiring. A good business presentation should contain absolutely no surprises. Imagine walking into that final, high-stakes meeting and dropping a bombshell recommendation that key executives are hearing for the first time. The director of the gadgets division is furious because your plan favors widgets. The CFO protests that there's no money for it. The meeting dissolves into chaos. Your brilliant solution is dead on arrival. To avoid this disaster, McKinsey consultants pre-wire everything. Before the formal presentation, they meet one-on-one with all the key players. They walk each person through the findings and recommendations privately. This does two things. First, it gives you a chance to explain your logic without an audience, where people are less likely to be defensive. Second, it allows you to get feedback and uncover any hidden objections or new facts you might have missed. Sometimes you might need to make a small compromise to get someone on board. Other times you'll identify your opponents and can plan a strategy to manage them. By the time you get to the formal presentation, everyone in the room has already seen the material. The meeting is no longer a moment of decision. It's what one consultant called performance art. It's a formality to get everyone to publicly agree to a decision that's already been made behind the scenes. It's a masterful way to manage politics and build consensus. Within the presentation itself, McKinsey relies heavily on charts to display data. And they have a few strict rules. The most important one is one message per chart. With today's software, it's easy to create dazzling, complex 3D charts with a dozen different colors. McKinsey avoids all of that. Their charts are almost always simple, black and white, and designed to communicate a single, clear point. The message of the chart is written right at the top in a simple sentence called the lead. For example, instead of a generic title like 1998 income statement, the lead will say, Acme Widgets ran an operating loss last year. The chart below then provides visual proof for that one statement. If there's a second important message in the same data, you don't cram it onto the same chart. You make a second chart with a new lead, like, we would have posted a loss in 1998 without the sale of our gadgets division. This discipline forces clarity and makes your argument incredibly easy to follow. McKinsey has a secret weapon in its charting arsenal, the waterfall chart. You'll rarely see it outside the firm, but it's brilliant for showing how a starting number is affected by a series of positive and negative changes. For an income statement, it starts with a bar for sales, then shows a downward bar for expenses, an upward bar for other income, and so on, until you land at the final profit number. It's a simple, intuitive way to tell a story with numbers, showing where value is created and where it's destroyed. Beyond formal presentations, selling a solution requires working effectively with people inside the client's organization, especially the client team. These are the employees assigned to work with the McKinsey consultants. Getting them on your side is critical. You have to make them feel that your success is their success. You have to show them that working on the project will be a positive experience for them, a chance to learn new skills and make a real impact. But sometimes you get difficult people on the client team. The book describes two types of liability members. The first is the merely useless, someone who's incompetent or just refuses to contribute. The best strategy is to try to get them off the team. If you can't, you have to work around them. Give them a discrete piece of work that isn't critical to the project. The second type is far more dangerous, the actively hostile saboteur. This is someone who's on the team specifically to undermine the project, often because they have a powerful patron in the organization who opposes the change. Dealing with a saboteur is tricky. You have to work around them, keep sensitive information out of their hands, and understand the political agenda they're serving. Ultimately, to make your solution stick, you must get buy-in throughout the organization. It's not enough to convince the board of directors. You have to sell your solution to the middle managers who will have to implement it, and to the frontline workers whose jobs will be most affected. This means tailoring your message for each audience, explaining not just what is changing, but why. If people at all levels feel respected and understand how they fit into the bigger picture, they're far more likely to support the change rather than resist it. Finally, a brilliant solution on paper is worthless if it isn't implemented. McKinsey is rigorous about implementation. A good implementation plan is so specific and detailed that, as one former consultant said, a fool can understand it. It states exactly what needs to be done, who's responsible for doing it, and when it needs to be done by. There's no ambiguity. Clear tasks, clear ownership, and clear deadlines are what turn a recommendation into reality. This is the final, crucial step in the art of persuasion. Making change happen. The human element, surviving and thriving. The McKinsey Way is incredibly effective, but it's also incredibly demanding. The long hours, the constant travel, and the intense pressure can take a heavy toll. The final part of the McKinsey Way isn't just about solving business problems. It's about learning how to survive, and even thrive, in such a high-stakes environment. One of the most important survival skills is to find your own mentor. McKinsey has a formal system where every consultant is assigned a mentor. But, as in many large organizations, this official relationship can be hit or miss. The real key is to find someone senior in the organization whose abilities you respect and with whom you have good chemistry. This is your unofficial mentor. This is the person you go to for advice, the person who'll have your back, who'll try to get you on the best projects. You have to be proactive. Find someone whose star is rising and hitch your wagon to it. This informal relationship is often far more valuable than the official one. Then there's the reality of life on the road. Many consultants spend the majority of their time traveling, living out of suitcases, in cities far from home. This can be grueling. The key to surviving it is maintaining the right attitude. Try to look at business travel as an adventure. Even if you're stuck in a boring city for 3 months in the middle of winter, find something unique about the experience. Act like a tourist. Make the most of where you are. Take an afternoon off to do something you couldn't do at home. Proper planning is also essential. Pack light. Learn the difference between what you think you need on the road and what you actually need. And here's advice that might be the most valuable in the whole book. Treat everyone with tremendous respect. The flight attendants, the hotel concierge, the administrative assistants. These people have more power than you realize. They can make your life on the road a dream or a nightmare. A little kindness and respect will be repaid 1,000 times over. Speaking of assistants, McKinsey understands that a good assistant is a lifeline. This is especially true when you're on the road. They're your connection back to the office, the person who handles all the administrative details that would otherwise overwhelm you. The firm goes to great lengths to attract and retain the best secretaries, even providing them with their own career paths. The lesson is universal. Whether it's a full-time assistant, a temp, or a junior team member, treat them well. Give them clear instructions, respect their work, and give them opportunities to show initiative. Your success is deeply connected to theirs. But what about life outside of work? When you're working 80 or 100 hours a week, how do you maintain relationships, your sanity, and a sense of self? The book offers a hard-earned lesson. If you want a life, you have to lay down some rules. Many young consultants are afraid to set boundaries, fearing it will jeopardize their careers. But the veterans learn that, without rules, work will consume everything. There are 3 simple but powerful rules they suggest. 1. Make 1 day a week off limits. Pick a day, Saturday or Sunday, and make it sacred. No work. No exceptions. Unless it's a true, world-ending emergency. Spend that day with family, friends, or just by yourself. Recharge. 2. Don't take work home. Keep your home and your work physically and mentally separate. If you have to stay at the office an extra hour to finish something, do it there. Home should be a sanctuary, a place where you can be yourself, not an extension of your office. 3. Plan ahead. This is especially crucial if you travel. Don't just show up at home on a Friday night with no plans and expect a social life to magically appear. When you're out of town, you're out of sight and out of mind. You have to arrange things in advance if you want to connect with people on the weekend. These rules create structure and predictability in a chaotic life. They let your boss, your family, and yourself know what to expect. In the end, the McKinsey Way is more than a set of tools for business. It's a holistic approach to a life of high performance. It's about structured thinking, clear communication, and the human discipline required to navigate a demanding world with integrity and grace. So what do we take away from all of this? When you peel back the layers of corporate prestige and the mystique surrounding McKinsey, what you find at the core is something remarkably simple and universally applicable: a deep, unwavering commitment to structured thinking. The most valuable lesson from the McKinsey Way is that problem-solving isn't a mysterious gift bestowed upon a lucky few. It's a skill. It's a process. It's a discipline that can be learned and practiced. The idea that any problem, no matter how complex or daunting, can be broken down into its component parts and solved is incredibly empowering. It replaces anxiety with a sense of control. What makes this book so timeless is that these principles extend far beyond the boardroom. Think about a personal challenge you're facing. Maybe it's choosing a college, figuring out a career path, or even just trying to get healthier. How can you apply the McKinsey Way? First, be fact-based. Don't just rely on what you think you know or what others have told you. Do the research. What are the actual statistics? What are the real options? Gather the data before you form an opinion. Second, be structured. Use the MECE principle. Break the problem down. If you're choosing a college, your buckets might be academics, social life, and financial cost. Every piece of information you gather can be sorted into one of those buckets. This brings clarity to an overwhelming decision. Third, be hypothesis-driven. Form an initial hypothesis. Based on what I know now, I believe College X is the best choice for me because it has a strong program in my field and is affordable. Now your research is focused. You're actively trying to prove or disprove that theory, not just wandering through a sea of information. This structured approach is a superpower in a world that's increasingly chaotic and filled with noise. Here are a few simple actions you can take, starting today, to begin practicing this way of thinking. 1. The 30-second elevator test. The next time you have an idea you want to share with a teacher, a boss, or a friend, take a moment to apply the elevator test. Can you explain the core of your idea and its most important benefit in 30 seconds? This simple exercise will force you to sharpen your thinking like nothing else. 2. Find your 80/20ths. Take just one area of your life, your study habits, for example. Ask yourself, what are the 20% of my study activities that are leading to 80% of my learning? Maybe it's making flashcards or explaining concepts to a friend. And what are the 20% of things causing 80% of my wasted time? Probably scrolling on your phone. This simple analysis can help you refocus your energy with incredible results. 3. Make one chart. At the end of your day, just once this week, take 5 minutes and ask, what was the single most important thing I learned today? Then, just for yourself, sketch it out on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be fancy. This little ritual builds the habit of reflecting, synthesizing, and crystallizing your thoughts. The McKinsey Way is more than a business book. It's a manual for clear thinking. It teaches you that the quality of your solutions is directly determined by the quality of your process. By adopting a structured, fact-based, and hypothesis-driven approach, you can cut through the fog of complexity and find the clear path forward in your career and in your life. That was a summary of The McKinsey Way by Ethan M. Rasiel. We've touched on the core principles today, but I'll be honest with you. A summary is like looking at a travel brochure. The real adventure happens when you take the journey yourself. The true value of this book isn't just in knowing the concepts. It's in seeing how they connect through the many stories and examples that fill its pages. This summary is designed to give you a map and show you the destination. If the journey sounds exciting, I encourage you to grab a copy of the book. Reading it isn't just about learning techniques. It's an experience that can fundamentally change the way you approach challenges for the rest of your life. A link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets us know we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.